So if you're watching this and you're only sending, 2 campaigns a month, get onto this right now because you will then beat 90% of people. Number one mistake. I have seen it. It's not that common, but I do see it, when it comes to the vast, array of people who are on the list because there's thousands of people on the list. So for me, this is just a problem. All right, today we're looking at 14 mistakes that I see when I audit other e-commerce store accounts. So just get this in your head that it's not mistakes that people talk about. It's not mistakes that, ChatGPT says or, that you might learn about in a course. These are things that I see happening. You may learn something in a course or you may hear something on YouTube and you say, do this, do that, do the other. But then in actual fact, you've forgotten a bunch of mistakes that, you have no idea that you're making. So I'm just going to actually jump into ChatGPT first, just to let you, get an idea that you can't really rely on ChatGPT for everything, right? I use ChatGPT every day. It's great. It's a wonderful tool, but it just doesn't still get to the granular detail of, how humans are working and all those emissions, those strange, edge cases where someone forgets this one thing. It just can't do it. So, as a large language model, it's just taking overall average of what's happening, but it doesn't really get to the reality. So I'll just go through these first, and then we'll look at the 14 mistakes that I see regularly. So first of all, weak list segmentation. So yeah, this is a good one, right? I mean, a lot of stores are just blasting off to their list or they're a mishmash of lists and things like that. And they don't know how to just create that simple 60 or 90-day engaged segment. So super simple. That one I agree with. Over focused on discounts. So I agree with this to a certain extent. It really depends what niche you're in. I actually have a sporting goods client, and the whole industry just talks about discounts, discounts, discounts. I even tried to move away from it for a bit, and the emails started to perform worse. So we went back to it and just started talking about discounts all the time because he's got thousands of products and there's always something discounted. So we just went back to it and boom, the emails started doing a lot better. We do that 4 times a week. I mean, it really does depend on the niche. If you've only got like 10, 20 products and you're quite unique or there's not many other competitors, yeah, you probably want to lay off the discounts a little bit, get some more value-driven emails, some educational emails, things like that. But it really depends on your niche. Poor automation setup. So here it says most stores only have basic welcome flow and maybe an abandoned cart. I agree with that, right? There are so many stores and e-commerce stores out there which have only just set up 1 or 2 flows, right? And one account, we've got 25 flows. Maybe that's a bit too much, but, they were just testing a lot of them. But yeah, you should have at least 9 flows. And I'll go into that in a little bit. So ignoring deliverability, nowadays you're kind of forced by Klaviyo to do this. So this is not on my list because you literally can't send emails nowadays without setting it up and getting all these big warnings and things. So I don't really see this as a problem. No clear brand voice. Yeah, I mean, okay. If you are really brand driven, you should have a clear brand voice. But there's a lot of stores out there which, just home goods stores. I mean, how brand driven can you get? You're gonna have like some super edgy home goods. I mean, yeah, it's just comfortable. You have a comfortable house or, plants. I've recently seen a lot of plant stores. I mean, what's your brand voice going to be about that? It's just make your house look nice. That's all it is. So I don't see this as a huge problem. So not testing and reviewing, A/B testing. So of course, A/B testing is very important, but for me, that's down the line. And especially busy store owners, they might find it difficult to get to that, on their own. And A/B testing is mega important, but I don't think it's an actual mistake or an issue that people are not addressing early on in their email marketing. Get the basics set up first, then start thinking about A/B testing. Weak abandoned cart checkout sequence. So in this case, it's talking about the lack of emails. So I don't actually see this as a problem. Sorry, it is a problem, but I don't see it happen. Most times when people set up, like when I do audits, when they've set up an abandoned cart, most times they have actually got 2 or 3 emails in there. And then no life cycle strategy. So again, this is getting into the detail, and I don't think it's a mistake when you're setting it up on your own. It is a little bit more advanced. If you're setting it up on your own, you don't really have to worry about this. So if I don't see this as a problem when I don't see it in an account I've audited. Or creative on mobile optimization. I don't know. I think if they put too much text, I think that is an issue. No, I don't see this happening. I do check emails when I audit people on both, and generally they're pretty good at designing on mobile nowadays, so I don't see that happening. Neglecting list hygiene. Yeah, I guess that comes into the segmenting as well, and maybe if they're just not cleaning out their list, I do see that. They don't have a sunset flow, and they're not suppressing profiles. So yeah, I do see that. But now let's get into my list where these are the real important ones, which are going to be mega important for, just getting yourself off the ground and getting going. Because, without the basics set up, you're not going to be able to, get things going and start generating good money. So number one is no pop-up at all, right? I've seen a bunch of accounts where they've got Klaviyo installed. They are doing email marketing, but they're relying purely on the embed form or people to buy. I get abandoned checkout emails from them, so I know they do email marketing, but they're not collecting emails with a pop-up. Growing a list is the number one most important thing in email marketing. If one store is growing their list but has poor designs and poor copywriting, they'll still easily beat another store that is simply not collecting emails with a pop-up. Remember that 95 to 99% of people who visit your store simply will go away without doing anything. If you're not converting at least 10% of those to email, you are losing big time. So, number one mistake. I have seen it. It's not that common, but I do see it. So, no pop up at all. So, here's another one, a pop up with no offer. Unless you're really well known, you need an offer. And this is what I mean. Be the first to know. Great.
Really?
Be the first to know. Like, okay, being on an email list of a store, okay, you will know before the general browser will know. But it's not really that important, when it comes to the vast, array of people who are on the list, because there's thousands of people on the list. So for me, this is just a problem. You've got to have a proper offer, a code for shipping, I don't know, a bundle, whatever it is. You've got to have a proper offer on there, unless you're just so well known and people are just going to convert straight away. So no indication where to get the offer. This I see a lot. So they have an offer, you put your email in and click submit, and the pop-up, it just disappears. Or even worse, they say that when they sent an email to you and the first email doesn't even have the offer. So, the first email in the welcome series, like they say, hey, you get your coupon, or thanks for signing up. And then first email is like, where's the coupon? It's not in there. And they don't put it on the final stage of the pop-up as well. So, if it's not on the final stage of the pop-up and not in that first email, where the heck is it? So by far, the best combination is to give the offer on the final stage of the pop-up and the first email of the welcome series. This gives those who are ready to shop now an easy way to copy and get the offer immediately without having to go to their email and look for it and wait for it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I sign up to a pop-up and the email doesn't come immediately. It might come 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, half an hour later, or never. So get that coupon code on the final stage of your pop-up. And those who are not ready to buy now, they'll get it in email when you send it immediately. So not connecting the pop-up to the welcome series. So you'd be amazed how many people do this. Similar to the last one, they direct you to the first email of the welcome series to get the offer, but the email never arrives. Why? It comes down to a pure technical mistake. Whoever set up the pop-up connected the wrong list. More often than not, they connect the default newsletter list to the pop-up and create a new list for the welcome series. So, that default newsletter list, which is connected to your embed form, right? A lot of people I see, they connect that to the pop-up. I think I badly worded that actually. They connect that to the pop-up, but then their welcome series is triggered by a different list. Or there is an issue with the flow filters and no one is getting the pop-up as everyone is filtered out. I have seen this as well, where a flow filter has been incorrectly set up, with the logic, where it says like someone has or has not placed an order, and like never placed an order is true. And that means they're filtered out. They can be filtered out. I mean, I'll have to double check that. I haven't got the filters in my head, but if you look at it, like if you go through the filters properly, they have to be true. So not placed an order equals true, then they're going to be filtered out. And I've seen that before. So unticking the sign up to email in the checkout stage, huge problem here. Unless, all right, so I will have a little caveat here. Unless you're getting a load of bot traffic, you've got to have that automatically ticked, right? Because you can have it default unticked by going to a Shopify setting or whatever on your your platform. You can untick that by default, but it's a huge problem. Shopify leaves this tick by default. You should really keep it ticked. The only reason to untick this is if you're getting a lot of bot traffic, but that is an extreme case. If you untick the sign up to newsletter option in the checkout, then firstly, you're not collecting email addresses of people who simply make a purchase without signing up to the pop-up. Or worse still, anyone who doesn't sign up to the pop-up and then abandons the purchase at checkout, they won't receive your abandoned checkout flow. So keep that ticked by default. So not setting up enough flows. That was one of the ChatGPT ones. Yeah, for sure. If you don't have at least these 9 flows set up, then you're missing out on a huge chunk of automated revenue. Most stores just set up the welcome flow, the abandoned checkout, and they leave it at that. They think they've done enough. Sure, they're probably at the highest converting flows, but they probably make up about a third of the revenue. You're missing out on the next 2/3 if you don't install the rest. So welcome series, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, browse abandoned, site abandoned, thank you flow, repeat, some sort of repeat order, a bounce back flow. That's like 2 weeks after the purchase, send them back, and then win back 90 days, whatever, 120 days after they haven't bought for all that time, re-engage them. So super hyper targeted flows that nobody is in them. Now, it's a common trap to go down this hyper granular route when you first set up email marketing. I've seen stores that set up individual thank you flows per product with barely anyone going through them, right? I know it feels like, you should be addressing people exactly, but it's just a huge amount of effort, especially if you've got 50, 100 products. There's no point. Just do a generic thank you. You can reference the product in there if you want with a dynamic block. Or stores who set up based on complicated rules, like someone who purchased a unique combination of 2 products and they may be interested in a 3rd product. I've seen this as well. Too complicated. Remember, it's a volume game. These flows only work well at mega high volume, like 8 and 9 figure stores with a huge volume of purchases. All right. So it can work at the highest levels, but the smaller levels, just forget about it. You're trying to get a volume of traffic through your flows. If you're 7 figures and below, just forget these, and just stick to the basics. So number 8, not sending enough campaigns. This one, most people are doing it. So if you're watching this and you're only sending, 2 campaigns a month, get onto this right now because you will then beat 90% of people. Most stores are not sending enough campaigns. I'd say, I put 70% here. I really think it's more like 90%. I've been doing a lot of research recently. Most people are not sending enough campaigns. They got their automation set up. They are sending campaigns, but not enough. They're too scared to annoy customers and they don't want people to unsubscribe. Forget it then. What's the point of having your list? What's the point of having your list if you're not sending to them? If you're worried about people unsubscribing, but you're not sending them anything, what's the point? 3 emails a week. And trust me, you're going to filter out people who don't want to be subscribed and you're going to keep the people who do want to be subscribed. It's all about building that base of fans, not trying to keep absolutely everybody. It's building the base of fans. So when you've got 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 real fans, then your email marketing is going to be blowing everything out of the water. But if you've got 40,000 people and only 5,000 of them are fans, and you're so worried about emailing those 40,000 people, then your fans are not being emailed to either. So get that out of your head. You've got to send more. Whatever. I won't read the rest there. I pretty much stated what I want to state. So not using segments. All right, that's ChatGPT got that. Huge problem. Segment, engage segments, 60, 90, 120. Make sure your open rates are 45, 50%. If the open rates are below that, then you want to narrow to 30 days, 60 days. If your open rate is 60%, 70%, you can expand it. So anyone who's opened an email or clicked an email in the last 60, 90, whatever days it is. And then I also like to chuck in there people who have purchased in the last 30 days. So no trust building tactics in email. So I see this a lot as well. And this is what I mean. There's no reviews, there's no refund policies, there's no shipping policy, no satisfaction guaranteed, no way to contact customer service. There's no product quality assurance. You've got to put these things in there. I mean, here's a super simple one. I just found a random one, but they're doing it. This can be improved, but this sort of thing, the footer at the bottom of every single email is super important. You've got to build trust, especially with those who haven't purchased yet. Without sending those trust signals, you can't expect people to buy from you. These are the questions and doubts that they have in the back of their mind, and if you don't address them, they simply won't buy. If people don't see these trust building icons and reviews and things around the email, they may not know why they don't want to buy from you, but if you really dig into them, they'll say, well, actually, I don't trust the site. I think that's why I'm not going to buy. So you've got to get these in every single email somewhere, at least that footer at the bottom. Walls of text. All right, no one cares about your life story or massive long list of features and why each feature is important. They don't have the time to read so much text. They want to know how the product can improve their lives. That's it. Snappy lines of text accompanied by nice imagery. That's the way to go. Or infographics, comparison charts, us versus them tables, things like that. Easy to digest information that someone can understand in seconds, right? Not minutes. They need to be able to just look at it and go, oh, I know what this is, and then they feel compelled to just, analyze it a little bit more. It can't be a wall of text explaining everything. A graphic or an image can explain it all in a second. So here's an example of this, wall of text. I mean, it's just too much. So bad CTAs. This may seem crazy, but I've seen this a few times. A business spends all its time making a nice email, nice imagery, but they simply forget to put a button in there. So I couldn't actually find an example of that. But again, I use this poor this poor person's wall of text example again. All the CTAs hidden at the bottom of the email. There it is. Look, there's the CTA all the way down there. I mean, maybe these links are CTAs as well, but no one's going to click on that. So using singular products only. This is a problem that even high revenue stores are doing. So this is an example here. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry. This store is doing well, right? They list, so in the example I say, they list a bunch of products and don't put any collection buttons. So I see that often as well, where you've only got singular products, and you've got maybe 10, 15, whatever it is, but there's no browse all, there's no shop this collection, there's no way for someone to continue their own browsing to make their own choice. If someone opens the email and they don't want to click any of the products included in there, and there's no collection button, they simply won't click at all. They're not going to go, oh, let me really try and shop. Then I'll go right back up and click on the logo and go on to it. All right, some people might do, but you're going to have way more chance when you got to shop this collection, browse this, whatever it is, browse t-shirts, browse shoes, when you've got that, people can start doing their own shopping. So super important. So this example is a little bit different to the, having multiple products, because this product is all about one. It's just one product. I would want to put browse all bags somewhere in here, because this whole email is about this binocular bag. I mean, I know it's a product feature email and they are important, but at least have a menu button at the bottom, sorry, like a menu table at the bottom or at the top, just to allow those people who are not interested in this bag to have something to click on. We've got to remember deliverability is important as well. And then also to help people browse if they happen to be interested, you've got to give them something to click on. Not everybody is going to be interested in your featured product. So lastly, off-brand emails, even agencies get this wrong. They get obsessed with making a beautifully designed email, but they forget to make it match how the website looks, right? It's super important. For example, having rounded buttons instead of square buttons, like on the site, or overusing one color in an email that is not the main color of the brand, or simply using a completely different colors that don't match your brand or products at all. Congruency is a huge factor. It doesn't matter how beautiful your design is. If it looks completely different to what the site looks like, it's just going to feel off. The customer is just going to feel a little bit like, oh, they're just like, what is it? I don't know. I'm confused, right? It's got to look like the site. It's got to match the site. So here's an awful example. I mean, I feel bad. I actually buy these this chocolate sometimes. It's really nice. But here's their site. It's kind of blue. I didn't get their buttons in there, but they're like light blue and stuff like that. And then here's their email. It's like, all right, I get it. It's Christmas, but green and Christmassy red, and then some other weird Christmassy red down here. This does not look like their site. It's completely different. So, people are just going to be taken aback by that. And it just, when something doesn't feel right, they're just going to bounce. Okay, so if you are interested in learning all these tactics about how to avoid all these mistakes, I've got my school group with a 9-module course, the 9 steps to email marketing success. Join my school group. It's a huge course. It took me a year to make. I'm really, really proud of it. Click the link below. And yeah, I hope to see you in there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.